Brother and sister, let me tell y'all something real. In this world, everybody wanna shine. Everybody wants the car, the house, the lifestyle. But let me ask you something, did you respect the people who gave you life first? Because let me tell you something about God's blessings, they don't show up where disrespect lives. You out here hustling, grinding, praying for elevation, and that's good. But if you can't even say, thank you, Mom, or I love you, Dad, you're already blocking your own blessings. You see, your parents, they weren't perfect. None of us are, but they sacrificed, they bled, they worked double shifts, they cried in silence just to put food on your plate. You think that's nothing? Listen to me. God watches how you treat your parents. That's your first test. That's your foundation. If you can't honor the ones who birthed you, how will you ever honor the purpose God put inside you? I've met broke people with peace, and I've met rich folks with pain. You know what the difference is: gratitude, respect, honor. When you respect your parents, you invite legacy into your life. There are folks walking around right now, cursed by their own choices, not because God is punishing them, but because they refuse to respect where they came from. You cannot build a skyscraper of success on a cracked foundation of disrespect. Some of y'all need to stop scrolling and start calling. Text your mom, hug your dad, and if you lost them, honor them in how you live. Make them proud with your choices. Look, I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. But one thing I know, God turns lives around when the heart turns humble. And the first place that starts is how you treat your mama and daddy. So if you're listening right now and you still got your parents, go tell them you love them. And if you don't have the words, let your actions speak. Because respect, it's not just words, it's responsibility, it's gratitude, it's knowing that you stand tall today because someone else kneeled down to raise you. God sees that, and when you do it from the heart, your whole life will start to shift. You don't need a million followers to be blessed. Sometimes you just need to say, thank you, Mom, thank you, Dad, that's it. That's the blessing right there. In a world that's constantly shouting about success, fame, and who's going viral, we've forgotten the value of quiet gratitude. Everyone wants a platform, a brand, a name, but who's taking a moment to honor the people who gave them their name? Who's slowing down long enough to say thank you to the ones who fed them before they knew how to feed themselves? See, blessings don't always show up in the form of likes, views, or blue check marks. Real blessings come when your heart is aligned with the truth. And the truth is, if it wasn't for your parents, or the people who stepped into that role, you wouldn't even be here reading this right now. You wouldn't have shoes on your feet, knowledge in your mind, or strength in your spirit. You are standing on the shoulders of sacrifices that were made in silence. We think blessings come from the outside, but most of the time they start from within. That inner peace, that favor on your life, that open door, it often shows up when your heart is in the right place. When you show love to the ones who carried you through their storms, it's not glamorous. It doesn't go viral, but let me tell you something. God honors that. Gratitude isn't weakness. It's wisdom. Saying, thank you, Mom, or I appreciate you, Dad, is not just about good manners. It's about recognizing the roots of your own strength. You don't water a tree at the top. You nourish it at the root, and your parents are your roots. Maybe they weren't perfect. Maybe they didn't get everything right, but they gave you life, they tried, and in their own way, they loved you the best they could. That alone deserves respect. You don't have to post it. You don't need to make a speech about it. Just say it. Look them in the eye, send that message, make that phone call. Let your heart do what your pride won't. Because the truth is, no amount of social media clout will ever replace the peace you feel when you're right with your family, when you're right with the ones who raised you, taught you, fed you, or simply stood by you. Your next blessing might not be waiting in the algorithm. It might be waiting in your ability to humble yourself and give thanks to the people who got you here. So stop chasing validation and start showing appreciation. That small moment of honor could open doors that talent never could. So no, you don't need a million followers to be blessed. You just need a moment of honesty, a soft heart, and a few simple words. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. You said, God don't bless no disrespect. If you can't honor your parents, don't expect heaven to open for you. Expand it in 500 words, but don't add subtitle and conclusion, ChatGPT said. God don't bless no disrespect. If you can't honor your parents, don't expect heaven to open for you. That might sound harsh, but it's the truth that too many people ignore. In a world chasing quick fame, fast money, and public validation, the deepest blessings still come from private obedience. One of the greatest commandments ever given wasn't about building empires or being popular. It was about honoring your father and your mother. There's a reason that commandment comes with a promise that your days may be long and things may go well for you. But see, we live in a generation that's gotten too comfortable disrespecting their parents like it's casual conversation. They talk back, ignore them, roll their eyes, treat them like they are in the way. Some even cut them off over petty differences, forgetting all the years of sacrifice that got them to where they are. If you can't humble yourself enough to honor the people who raised you, imperfect or not, then you're building a future on shaky ground. Disrespect creates distance between you and divine favor. It's not about religion, it's about alignment. God doesn't operate in pride. He moves through humility, through gratitude, through reverence. And if you can't show love and honor to the people he used to bring you into this world, then why would he pour blessings into your hands? Think about it. Your parents changed your diapers, worked overtime, stayed up when you were sick, stressed when you failed, and still loved you through your worst. And now you've grown, got a little money or independence, and suddenly you think you're too big to say thank you. That's not growth, that's arrogance, and God doesn't elevate arrogance. It's easy to honor a celebrity. It's easy to respect a boss who signs your paycheck. But it takes real character to honor your mother when she's tired, or your father when he's broken, or both when they didn't get everything right. Because guess what? They were figuring it out while raising you. And no matter how flawed they were still chosen to bring you into this world. That's not an accident, that's purpose. Some of the doors you're praying for will only open when your heart gets right. Some of the peace you're begging God for is tied to a phone call you haven't made yet. Some of the favor you're chasing is locked behind pride you haven't let go of. You want heaven to open. Start by opening your heart to the people who gave you life. Honor is the key, so remember this. God don't bless no disrespect. You want to be trusted with more. Start by being grateful for what he already gave you, starting with your parents. Humility will carry you where hustle never can. And if you can't give honor, don't be surprised when you struggle to receive it. You said, respect is free, but it pays you back with peace, favor, and doors you didn't even knock on. Expand it in 500 words, but don't add subtitle and conclusion, ChatGPT said. Respect is free, but it pays you back with peace, favor, and doors you didn't even knock on. That's the power of living with honor. You don't have to buy it, you don't have to campaign for it, and you don't have to be famous to show it. Respect is one of the few things in life that costs nothing but gives everything. And when you give it sincerely, especially to the people who raised you, you start unlocking blessings you didn't even see coming. The world may tell you that respect is earned. That's true in some cases. But when it comes to your parents, your elders, and the people who sacrificed for you, respect should be automatic. Why? Because they poured into you before you knew how to stand. They gave when they didn't have, they showed up when you didn't ask, and they protected you even when you pushed them away. That kind of investment deserves honor. What most people don't realize is that respect creates an invisible covering over your life. When you move with a heart that honors others, especially your parents, it creates a ripple in the spirit. Peace follows you. People are drawn to your energy. Opportunities find their way to you, not because of what you know, but because of how you live. You don't need to beg for open doors. Respect quietly unlocks them. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to get favor wherever they go? It's not always their skill or their talent. Sometimes it's their posture. It's the way they carry themselves. It's how they treat others, how they listen, how they show appreciation. When you show respect, you show maturity. And when you show maturity, people trust you with more. Respect doesn't mean you have to agree with everything. It doesn't mean you excuse people's flaws or tolerate abuse. But it does mean you recognize the value in others. You acknowledge the role they played in your life. And when it comes to your parents, you honor their humanity. Maybe they didn't always get it right, Maybe they made mistakes, but they gave you life. And that's enough to start with. You may never know how many problems you avoid just by having a respectful spirit. Some people lose jobs, relationships, peace of mind, not because they weren't smart or talented, but because they didn't know how to show respect. And on the flip side, some people receive blessings they didn't apply for, doors they didn't knock on, and help they didn't ask for, all because they chose to carry themselves with honor. Respect creates a pathway for peace. It invites favor into your life. It sets a tone that others can trust. And the best part, it doesn't cost you anything. No money, no status, no credentials, just a willing heart. So start giving what's free and watch how God pays it back in ways you never expected. You said, let me tell you something, you ain't self-made. Somebody sacrificed so you could stand here. That's love. Expand it in 500 words, but don't add subtitle and conclusion, ChatGPT said. Let me tell you something, you ain't self-made. Somebody sacrificed so you could stand here. That's love. We live in a world where everybody wants to claim the title of self-made. They want to tell you, I did this on my own. Nobody helped me. I pulled myself up. But the truth is, nobody makes it alone. Even if you hustled, even if you grinded day and night, somewhere laid a foundation for you to build on, and most of the time it was your parents. Maybe it was a mom who went without just so you could eat. Maybe it was a dad who worked himself to exhaustion so you could wear shoes that fit. Maybe it was a grandparent, an older sibling, or a guardian who gave up their dreams just so you could chase yours. That's sacrifice, that's love, and that's something you should never forget. Every time you walk into a room with confidence, remember who taught you how to believe in yourself. Every time you cash a check or graduate or succeed in anything, remember the ones who clapped for you when no one else did. You are not just the product of your own ambition. You are the result of silent prayers, quiet tears, and unspoken sacrifices. You ain't self-made, your soul made, your sweat made. You're made from the long nights someone else endured just so you could have a better day. Maybe they never said it. Maybe they weren't perfect. But love doesn't always show up in flowers or hugs. Sometimes it shows up in paid bills, meals cooked, rides given, and advice repeated over and over even when you didn't listen. There's power in recognizing the shoulders you're standing on. It humbles you. It reminds you to stop and say, thank you. And when you acknowledge that love, when you give that honor back, something shifts inside of you. It makes you stronger, wiser, more grounded. When you forget who helped you, you start walking with pride. But when you remember who carried you, you start walking with purpose. The people who sacrificed for you, they may never get a trophy or a post or a public thank you, but they deserve your respect. You think you're strong now? Try carrying someone else's dreams while burying your own. That's what your parents did. That's what love looks like in the real world. Not flashy, not loud, just consistent, quiet giving. So no, you're not self-made, and that's a good thing, because everything great in this world is built in community, through sacrifice and with love. The least you can do is honor it, speak it, live it. Make sure your success never becomes so loud that it drowns out the voices of the ones who helped you rise. Because they didn't do it for applause. They did it for love, and love like that. It deserves to be remembered. You said, I've seen folks chase success and lose their soul, but the ones who respect their roots, they shine forever. Expand it in 500 words, but don't add subtitle and conclusion, ChatGPT said. I've seen folks chase success and lose their soul. But the ones who respect their roots, they shine forever. Success without grounding is a dangerous thing. We live in a culture that glorifies the hustle, that tells you to chase the bag, chase the spotlight, chase the status. And in doing so, people often lose sight of who they are and where they came from. I've watched individuals rise to the top, gain followers, build businesses, stack millions. But in the process, they forget the people who made it possible. They disconnect from their roots, and before long, the shine they chased turns hollow. You can have the world and still feel empty if you lose your identity in the climb. When you forget the struggle that shaped you, when you ignore the voices that guided you, when you act like you got here all by yourself, You disconnect from your soul, and no amount of success can fill that gap. I've seen people lose their peace, their families, even their purpose, all because they stopped respecting the source that gave them strength in the first place. But the ones who stay grounded, the ones who respect their parents, their culture, their beginnings, those people shine in a different way. Their light doesn't flicker with trends. It doesn't depend on applause. It comes from a deeper place. A place of gratitude, a place of humility, a place where their heart remembers the journey. Respecting your roots means understanding that every step forward is built on someone else's sacrifice. It's knowing that before you had an opportunity, someone else made one happen for you. It's calling your parents not just when you need something, but just to say thank you. It's walking into rooms of success and still carrying the values you learned at your kitchen table. You shine differently when you know who you are and where you came from. You walk with peace because you're not pretending. You attract favor because you're not arrogant. And most of all, you last longer. See, fame fades, trends shift, followers unfollow. But integrity rooted in respect, that keeps you steady, that keeps you blessed. Life isn't about how fast you can rise. It's about how long you can stay standing. And that only happens when you're anchored. Your roots are your anchor. Your parents, your story, your humble beginnings, that's the foundation God uses to build a legacy. And when you honor that, He honors you. Doors open that you didn't even knock on. People show up for you without you asking. Not because you're lucky, but because you're aligned. So yes, I've seen folks chase success and lose their soul. But I've also seen the ones who kept their head down, who gave credit where it was due, who stayed thankful. And those are the ones who shine forever. Because true success isn't about reaching the top. It's about remembering who held the ladder. You said, stop waiting for a miracle when your first blessing is already in front of you. Your parents, respect them and watch what God does. Expand it in 500 words, but don't add subtitle and conclusion, ChatGPT said. Stop waiting for a miracle when your first blessing is already in front of you. Your parents, respect them and watch what God does. So many people go through life waiting on breakthroughs, waiting on blessings, waiting on something big to happen. They pray, they fast, they hustle, hoping that something extraordinary will fall from the sky and change everything. But sometimes the blessing we're asking for isn't delayed. It's just being ignored because it's not far away. It's not hidden. It's already standing right in front of us. And for most of us, that blessing is called mom and dad. Your parents might not have it all. They may not be rich. They may not be educated. They may not even know how to express their love in ways you expected. But if they raised you, protected you, sacrificed for you, and never gave up on you, then they are your miracle in human form. You don't need to wait on something magical when God already gave you something meaningful. Too often, we overlook what's familiar. We ignore what's always been there. We think blessings have to look like luxury or come with a spotlight. But some of the most powerful blessings are quiet, consistent, and wrapped in humility. Your parents loved you when no one knew your name. They believed in you when you had nothing to offer. They put food on the table when their own plates were empty. That is favor, that is grace, that is God moving through human hearts. And here's the real truth. When you respect your parents, something in the atmosphere shifts. It's not just about being polite. It's about spiritual alignment. God honors order, and He watches how you treat the ones who brought you into this world. Respect is a seed, and when you plant it in the soil of your family, it produces fruit in your future. Peace, provision, protection. They all start flowing in ways you can't explain. If you've been feeling stuck, lost, or disconnected, maybe it's not about waiting on something new. Maybe it's about honoring what's already yours. Call your parents, sit with them, thank them, serve them. Make time for them while you still can, because blessings multiply when honor flows freely. Some of us are praying for open doors while slamming the door on the very people God used to shape our lives. We want miracles, but we don't want to show love to the people who carried us through our storms. That's not how favor works. Humility unlocks heaven, and few acts are more humble and powerful than honoring the ones who gave you life. So stop waiting. Your miracle might not be in the future. It might be sitting across the room, waiting on a hug, a thank you, a moment of respect. You want to see what God can do? Start by respecting your parents. Watch how blessings begin to flow in ways you never imagined. Because your first miracle already happened. God gave you them.